Today, let's talk about Goldratt's rules of flow. These are rules that Dr. Eliyahu Goldratt, who was the founder or the creator of the theory of constraints, spoke about or ex- implicitly in a lot of his conversations and was codified by his daughter, Dr. Efrat Goldratt, in her book of the same title, which is Goldratt's Rules of Flow. So here are the rules that she has codified. Rule number one, avoid bad multitasking. Control your work in progress. Number two, if you don't want to get stuck, verify full kit before you get going. Number three, triage to ensure you're working on the right priorities. Four, ensure synchronization between your tasks, people, and resources. I would just add one more, which is technology. Five, if you keep going back to the same projects and you don't get the desired results, look into the option to increase the dosage. Avoid unnecessary rework by finding what causes the rework. Seven, standardization is recommended when improvising is costly. Eight, abolish local optimum. Global optimum is what matters. So those were the rules that Dr. Efrat has codified from all the work that her father, Dr. Eliyahu Goldratt, did. Now let's kind of try to break down each one of them. They start with avoiding bad multitasking. And this is something that is so prevalent in all our lives. We are constantly shifting between tasks. We are constantly shifting between screens. We are constantly shifting between projects. If we don't focus enough on a specific project or a specific task long enough for us to complete the task, it takes much, much longer to complete the task. It reduces the quality of the deliverable of the task. And at the same time, the overall impact of that on our own health and our own ability, cognitive ability is really, really heavy. So we need to avoid that multitasking. And how do you do that? You do that by controlling your work in progress. Second one, when Dr. Efrat talks about full kit, is she says that before we start a project, we need to have a checklist which kind of checks whether or not we have everything that we need in order for us to do the task. If we have everything, then we go ahead and start the task or the project. If we don't have everything, we go get that thing before we start the project or the task. Super important. So many times it happens that you start something and then realize that there is something missing that you don't have any control over. So you have to stop and then go back again and look at everything. So all the effort that you've put in until then kind of is a waste. Triage to ensure you're working on the right priorities. Again, this is something that is the most fundamental principle of focus. Identifying the biggest constraint in your scope of work and addressing that is super important. And when I say your scope, I'm not just meaning that you should just look at what you're doing and be in contrast to the last rule, which is look at local optimum and forgetting about the global optimum. We need to constantly be looking at maximizing or optimizing for the global outcome. However, each one of us needs to understand what is our focus, what are our priorities, and just work on those priorities. Basic. The fourth one was, synchronization between tasks, people, and resources. Again, so many times it happens that you start something, you need something from someone else, or they need to align to provide something just in time for you to kind of take the baton and move forward. It doesn't work because there is no coordination between the people who are working on the same project but at different phases. Um, I think super important here is technology as well, apart from task, people, resources. I think if Dr. Efrat meant thought of technology as part of resources, but I think I want to call it out separately. You need to use the right technology for the right task by the right people, providing them the right resources, and all of them needs to work in sync. This one is a tough one, which is going back to the same projects. So you need to increase the dosage, which means that work can flow. So I keep going back into doing the same projects. It means that the chunk of work that you are taking on uh, needs to be increased. That is what they mean by dosage. Do more work on the same project before you switch to the next one. Um, Unnecessary rework again. I mean, a lot of times this back and forth in terms of getting the right content, not having a full kit, multitasking. There's issues in sync between people, task, resources, technology. All of that leads to a lot of unnecessary rework. You need to be constantly looking for these reworks, find out what is causing it, and eliminate it ruthlessly in a way. And the next one again is standardization is recommended when improvising is costly, which means that a lot of times customization and improvisation is important because that gives you competitive advantage. But there are a lot of other times also when pretty standard process, if you are able to run a standard process, is more than enough. So find those pieces, find those processes, find those places where you can actually standardize and standardize. Only do those things which provide significant value to your business, to your customers, if you have to if you customize it for them. Customize that, improvise that. Everything else needs to be standardized. And the last one is the biggest one as well. So abolish local optimum and work towards a global optimum. I have seen this play out in many, many, many businesses. Every team creates a goal and they're running towards achieving that goal, maximizing that particular goal. Not understanding that this can have an adverse effect elsewhere. This can create long-term pressures on your business elsewhere. This might mean that you are leaving resources, leaving money on the table. Think about it. Simple, concise, and awesome. Those are Goldratt's rules of flow. Hope you like it. Take care.